back to Turning Miniatures, Part 2. This is where we ended up last time. I thought I'd show you the final piece. This is the piece we worked on last week. I just put some finish on it, parted it off so you can kind of see. But that is, as I said, huge compared to where we're going today. We're going to work with Tagua nuts. Tagua nuts create this material that looks an awful lot like ivory. In fact, it's called vegetable ivory. So I'm going to do something like that. So I went online and ordered a bag of Tagua nuts, and I got 6 of them. Here's the 5 remaining. And one of the tricks in working with Tagua nuts is mounting them properly, because each of these nuts has a small hole in one end, and you've got to find that hole and mount it towards the base and then work down towards it. The other interesting thing about Tagua nuts is there's always a surprise. The inside will not always be solid. Many times it's cracked and has voids and features inside that we don't know about. So it's always kind of fun working with them because we have to practice a little bit. Let me clear the deck. And I'm going to work with this one. I'm picking it because it seems to be more symmetrical than some of them. The hole is in this end, and I'm going to have to sand that flat and then glue this to a, excuse me, a faceplate. So I brought along a sanding disc, which I can mount here. Speed's down low. And I'm going to, just by eye, figure this orientation and guess. And you can see, perhaps on the camera, where that hole is developing. Now I want a bigger base than that. That's pretty square. I might want to go just a little bit more this direction here. And as you can guess, I'm just eyeballing this. That's probably going to be okay. I'm just going to make the base a little bigger. That hole's pretty prominent now. You can see that. And I'm setting it up on that base and standing back and trying to look at whether or not the balance is going to be about right. I need more off of this side here. Well, that's going to have to do it. So we'll take off the sanding disc. We're done with it. And as you know, I like to work on face plates, and I have tended to work on 1x8s, which means I need to put an adapter on, as I've done before. And there's my base, but it's not flat. I'm going to flatten it, then glue this on. By standing it on the ways, I can check to make sure that base is dead flat. This is not. So I'm going to have to get this prepared and then glue on my Tagua nut. So let's take a gouge, be on center line. Tell it's not flat. I'm just knocking the corners off at the same time, just because I can. By sound, I can tell it's not quite flat. And what I've done in my segmented classes is the same thing here. I have a stick with a piece of sandpaper on 80 grit, which I then can run across this bottom. And that assures that that is flat. Well, that part's done. Now we have to glue the nut on. I'm going to bring this up here for a little support. And by eye, you know, that's not as flat as I thought it was. I thought I'd gotten it nice, but I'm not happy with it. I set the nut down and I wasn't happy that this was dead flat. It's not dead flat. Low speed for the sanding disc. And I tried not to move my hand at all. That's much better. So there's a little playing around with this. Now we'll put this away. Install our base. Yeah, that's going to be much better. My technique has always been to use CA glue. And I'm going to put a little accelerant on the base. And I'll put a little bit of glue on the bottom of the nut. And then by eye and by hand, I'll put it in place. So this is pretty thick, and I want it thick. Yeah, it's got a nice big hole in it. So I'm going to position this by eye. And I'm going to bring the tailstock up for a little bit of additional support for a couple minutes. We'll be back when the glue's dry. Well, I think the glue's dry. I want to allow extra time to be sure that that sets properly. This is where the fun starts, because I have no idea what's going to happen here. I don't know where the voids are. I don't know how well this nut's going to turn, and that's the fun of this whole thing. Because this is way out of round now, because it's irregular, I'm going to keep the tailstock up for the first few cuts until I bring some balance here. Then the tailstock goes away and we go into a standard hollow form. There's my tool rest. I'm going to try to get it in as close as I can. And as you can see, the nut is hitting my finger there. About 1/4 of an inch hits my finger, another 1/4 of an inch, so it's really not round. Okay, turning, balancing, glasses, bowl gouge. I'll be sure I have the height just right. And a little more pressure than that. This is not spinning really well because it's a metal surface against that soft, spongy nut surface, and I think that's sort of like a lubricated thing. Small project, high speed. We're getting there. Okay, I have to make some decisions now. There is nut shell casing showing here in several places, and you can choose to leave some of that on if you want as sort of a decorative place, or you can take it all the way off. I think on this vessel I may end up with a little tiny piece on there, but not very much. But I'm going to continue to turn this down some more and hope I don't hit that void. I may end up leaving a piece of this here. This needs to go way down, but I'm not going to because I want to keep it massive until I'm done with the inside hollowing. So a little chatter work here that needs to be cleaned up, and we'll get the final outside shape. That's probably going to stay there. There's a spot here, some of this will remain too. Now this is going to come down smaller, but I'm going to change tools. Go to my shallow fluted gouge, and you can hear a lot of chatter. That's because this piece is hanging over, it's vibrating. So light cuts, high speed, sharp tools. Okay, we're going to have a couple of spots. That's okay. So now I need to hollow. I could come up with a Jacob's chuck and a drill bit and drill that, but I don't need to do that. I have tools for that. I have a tool I think I showed in part 1, which is designed specifically for doing this sort of hollowing. But it needs to be right on center. That's too high. That's pretty close. So this lays flat. This edge is sharpened up this direction. This edge is sharpened the opposite direction, so it's going to cut both directions. I hit that void, and all of a sudden the tool took off. So with the void, let's see how deep I am. I can go a little deeper, but now I'm going to be doing it carefully. Maybe just a little bit more. There's printing on top of this tool, which I'm using as a gauge. That'll do it. Couldn't find my tools. I'm going to use one of these two to do the hollowing. It's the Sorby set. Straight one for opening up. Well, the base is about right. Even these small tools will tend to want to torque in your hand, so keep a large handle and a good solid grip, because this is going to want to roll. The other thing that happens, because this is the largest portion right here, the chips are going to want to pack right into that area. So right where I'm doing the cutting right now is where the chips want to go. And so while I'm working in this area, I have to clear it out a lot more frequently. Try lower speed to see if I get a better cut. And like any other hollowing, it just takes time. So I need to go further under the shoulder. And because I have a number of tools, I can try different options until I find an option that seems to do the job. My aluminum handle here is nice because it's got knurling on it, which means I have a very good grip. And the screws are standard. That might work. We'll find out. It may not. Now I need to check. It's a thicker tool. Tool rest needs to be a little lower. Well, that's not what I expected to happen, but it gave me a chance to clear it. So let's check it out inside. I can examine that piece very carefully. What's happened is the glue just let go. So that's easy to fix. Clear the deck. Go back to my glue. But since I still have the tailstock right here, a little accelerant, I'm going to be able to line it up like that. It'll be real easy. Now this is also a little warm, and I'm wondering if the glue let go because of the heat buildup here. Well, we'll put some glue on it, and we'll do what we did last time. We'll go away for a couple minutes and then come back. Right back where we were. See you again in a few minutes. Got it glued back on. As you can see, it's still running true, so it didn't bother me that came off. I did examine the base. I thought I had put walnut on, and I have another one made up here, and I almost certainly can guarantee this is cocobolo. And the problem with that is cocobolo being so oily, I should have glued this on with 2-part epoxy. Cleaned this with acetone, glued the Tagua nut on with epoxy. Had it been walnut, it would have bonded just fine, but cocobolo being what it is, doesn't bond well through CA glue. So I think that's what the issue was. The advantage, though, was I was able to see inside and decide that I'm pretty well done. Outside, this piece of bark, I'd like not to come quite so far up on the shoulder, so I'm going to work on it just a little bit, change that shoulder shape a little bit, bring the base down a little bit, and then we're going to finish the outside. Yeah, it's off just a little bit. That's going to be okay. I really want to just take this shoulder down just a little bit here. And I think I'll just bring it back into true again. It's off a little bit. And I'm worried about shape now more than anything else. That looks like what I want. Yeah, we got that down off the shoulder. I didn't want that coming up over the corner, just because, I guess. Right here it's a little fat. I'll fix that. Shape's okay. I'll take the base down now a little bit more. Still a little glue showing. The base is not going to be that long, but I need room to get my parting tool in there also. See if this joint is good. Nope, it still has a little glue. And it's pretty well cleaned it. I could use my miniature sander, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it with normal hand sanding techniques. This is starting with 220. Tongue it sands very nicely. At 220 I can still make a few shape changes. Picking up a little bit of shine. Okay, 220, 400. Said Mirka mesh lets the sawdust pass right through. And I can see a glow shot coming up now. Down to the cocoa bowl base. That's 400. Now here's my trick. I go to 4/0 steel wool. And I guarantee that'll bring the shine right up. Oh yeah, like glass. Steel wool doesn't slice like sandpaper does. It cuts more like a plane will cut. So it's not scratching, it's actually planing these surfaces off. So there's a nice shiny little piece. Now we have to get that base off. And I know from past I need a stiffer parting tool than I used before. So I'm going to come in with my thin parting tool. Get the height just about right. Okay, now I'm going to cut a little below where I need to be. This allows me to see what the shape is going to be. That base looks too long now. That's where it's going to be right there. Now before I part any farther, because I'm not going to be able to rechuck this, I'm going to make sure I'm going in at an angle with my parting tool and holding the piece with my right hand, thumb against the parting tool for support. Overlapping cuts. I know it's thin tool, but you still can overlap the cuts. Don't push, just wait. I'm down to, just about 1/8 of an inch. And I've got plenty of room in there. As you can see, there's more than a width of a parting tool. And now I'm going to be sure I go in at an angle, one smooth cut. all the way to the bottom. And I'm done. I still have a little work to do. That knob has to be taken off. That can be sanded. It'll take a little work. But there is today's project. Small hollow vessel. A few decorative marks on the outside. I could have taken the wall down more, perhaps, and maybe not. It's pretty thin right there. And it's thicker right there. I can tell because I'm looking at light shining from the outside into the vessel. One of the things you can do if you want to turn this very thin walled, while you're on here, get a very bright light, put it down here at the bottom, and look at the translucency of the piece as you turn. The lighter spots will be the thinner, the darker spots will be the thicker, and you can use that as a way of gauging wall thickness. Well, a project that's fun to work with, and when you get some of these Tagua nuts with really weird shapes, it takes creative thought to figure out what to do with them. But they are fun to work with, and they are all irregular. You can buy them in large, medium, and small. These are called medium-sized. Button makers use them a lot. They can be bought in slices, which can be used for other kinds of projects. But anyway, this is completely done other than cleaning up that little bit of the bottom, which I will do off camera. And I don't mind these little bark inclusions occasionally. And putting a finish on this thing other than just polishing it down is something I would never do. For some reason, I don't think it'll stick to the Tagua nut very well. I know it won't stick to the coco bolo very well, so at the most I would buff this and maybe just a little bit of wax. Thanks for watching. This is number 2 in the series. Number 3, I think we'll get smaller. Come back and see what we do.